Hi everyone, so I'm Michelle from Tarot and Astrology with Michelle, and I'm joined today by Kitt from Kitt Penfold Astrology. And so what we're doing is we're going through the second quarter, so April, May, and June of 2026. We're going to go through the astrology by zodiac sign, as well as a tarot reading for every single month by zodiac sign.
These readings are general readings. So that means obviously you need to go find your natal chart and figure out where, if you have any personal planets or points where we're going to be talking about. You can listen for your rising sign. That is where I have created these readings from. Or you can listen for your sun sign and your moon sign if that is something that speaks to you. I just want to also mention that because this is a general reading, I'm not talking about all of the moons or all of the little things that Mercury does. Those we're going to leave for smaller videos that Michelle or I are going to be putting out over the coming months.
And so since this is a high level kind of general reading and we're not touching on all the transits, we both independently put out videos connected to the different transits and the kind of more everyday influences. So subscribe to both of us individually, of course, and you'll get access to all that content.
Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to your Q2 reading. So this is for April, May, June of 2026. We have a lot coming in on these or throughout these 3 months. And starting with April here, this is hot, hot, hot. And if you look way down, your wheel looks like really empty right now. But if you look way down here into your fourth house, Aries, your fourth house is parents, home, your ancestry, kind of your lineage. And it can also be very much our inner home and how we, as we age, cultivate that inner space within ourselves, the place that we can retreat to, understanding, what feels most comfortable when we need a moment of like going and having a quiet moment. Not the same as the 12th house where we go to retreat. That is much more kind of psychological. That's very soul idea. The fourth house retreat area is that kind of comfy place, that inner home that we can create. So the reason I say hot, 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 and the reason that I start our charts off here, this is actually showing April 15th, is I want to show you the stellium of planets that we have coming into your fourth house of Aries in April. This is building up within those first 15 days of April in a major way. And this moment right here is a real culmination moment, and it's leading up to a new moon that we're going to be talking about in a second. So in April, and I realize that this is a long window to be talking about, but in April, there's this window between April 9th and April 25th where it's going to feel like a mix of everything, bringing a lot of heat to your home, to perhaps the family that you have around you. Again, your parents can be part of this, or the home that you've created. If you have a spouse, if you have children, those kinds of things, or it could be your physical home that you have around you. Now, the reason that so much heat is here, not just because we're in Aries and that's a fire sign, but because the sun is here and the sun is exalted in Aries. This is its happiest place to be, probably because it's the first sign of the zodiac, and that usually means that at this point in the northern hemisphere we're getting brighter and brighter skies. This is just after the equinox, so this is really turning into the spring summer seasons. So the sun loves being here, it's getting brighter here, and we have Aries' ruler Mars in your fourth house as well. So you not only have the ruler, you have the exalted ruler. And I mean, look at the sun. It is, well, actually don't look at the sun, but it is a ball of fire. So we have Mars, the god of war, drive, action, bravery, courage, the literal spark when you ignite something, and the sun, a ball of fire here in your fourth house. If they were on their own, this would be one different thing. You would have a lot of drive here. You would feel like you're ready to take action on something. And you may feel a real brilliance of your core vitality and your purpose coming forward. The thing that creates this kind of in April is that Mars is conjunct Neptune, who's newly in I would say April, newly in Aries, and Mars is going to be conjunct Saturn coming up. So the restrictor, Saturn's in its fall. It really is not happy being here. And we're about to have a Mercury-Mars conjunction, the 5th of 5 that we've been seeing since last October. So this truly, on one hand, it's going to feel like it is time to start something in your home. Perhaps you're moving. Perhaps you want to totally renovate some like major some really beautiful, like astro good delineation of a Mars in Aries that in a good place is like someone who works in construction, like wants to just take a sledgehammer and go for it. But they are up next to Neptune, who wants to dissolve the identity. Dissolve the ego that comes with Aries. Now, this is not the bad ego. We have to have ego. We have to have identity. Aries is the I am. Neptune wants to come in and put up kind of a dreaminess with it. So already Mars is going to be a bit confused here. It's not going to be able to see very well. Then when Mars and you wanting to take action keeps moving in and it comes into the exact conjunction with Saturn and Mercury at the same time at 7 degrees, we're going to have this moment where that Mars who wants to move forward, take bold action, it can't. Saturn is restriction. Saturn is the Lord of time. In the fact that it wants you to put in all of the little pieces and all of the work and the sacrifice that comes with creating something for the long term. So April may not be the best time to start something. And if you do start something within your home, whether that's a renovation or a move or a great change within a family dynamic, those kinds of things, you may notice that situations with parents, if you have elderly parents, that kind of thing, this may really impact you. You may need to have to suddenly step up in a much bigger way. It's going to be frustrating if you do take action at this time, if you do need to move forward in the things that you feel are coming up, just because we have this kind of push, pull, not just once, but quite a few times here. Another thing to watch for in the 4th house and with all of these planets in this heat happening here with Neptune and Saturn and Chiron, the wounded healer, and the moon and Mercury, is watch your words. Watch your actions you're taking. If you like, really, this is a time to remember all of the lessons of Pisces just before, like that self-trust, listening to your intuition. Mars will be in Aries from April 9th to May 18th. And if you are a journaler, you may want to look back to the last time Mars was here in your 4th house, and that was April 30th to June 8th of 2024. So that was quite a long time ago. Of course, at that time, Mars had different configurations with things, and we did not have Saturn here. That's for darn sure. But this is going to be a very hot, interesting time for you guys in your 4th house. I want to tell you some dates of the exact Mars conjunct Neptune moments here. So when Mars is conjunct Neptune, Saturn, and Mercury. So Neptune and Mars come together April 12th at 10:24 p.m. Pacific time, and they are meeting at 2 degrees 39 minutes. Then Mars moves forward and gets into its conjunction with Saturn April 19th at 3:24 p.m. Pacific time. And that degree is 7 degrees 51 minutes. And it's at that 7 degrees that Mercury has also caught up here. So like I said before, this conjunction here at 7 degrees of Mars, Mercury, and Saturn that's going to happen on the 19th, this is the 5th of 5 conjunctions. There has been this story arc that Mercury, your voice, the messenger of the gods, the way you communicate, the mercantile, and the everyday, moving really quickly with the things and the technology around you. Mercury has been going through some major initiation in some way. So the first thing I want to, well, for you, Capricorn, your ruler is Saturn. So this conjunction happening on your ruler is pretty important. There's something that is very attached to you and your first house and your vitality, your identity, who you are. And then also Mars is your exalted ruler. So Mars does its best work when it's in your first house. So there's something very tied to who you are being upgraded, elevated, some instigation here. Those first conjunctions between Mars and Mercury happen back here in October in your 11th house of friends, community, your hopes and your dreams. 11th house is such an awesome house. When they met here, it started something for you where perhaps you felt your voice was getting stronger within community, or perhaps you suddenly realized, and this will be even more potent for you if you happen to have personal planets, your natal chart, if you put it onto this, if you have any kind of planets or points in Scorpio, in Capricorn, wherever we've had these conjunctions. Mercury along the way in Scorpio, your 11th house, in Sagittarius, your 12th house. So then you took it within you and you probably were doing a lot of work behind the scenes for a community or the way you're using your voice within community. And then in your first house, suddenly like bringing it forward, your identity suddenly being able to shift within how it is that you want to communicate and move within your world. And again, so many conjunctions. We had the fourth one back in March when Mars and Mercury met during the Mercury retrograde in your third house. And now it's here, this final one. And it may feel like, who cares? It's a Mercury-Mars conjunction. But if you sit down with this transit and all the dates and all the times that they met together, you will notice that there is a place that you probably feel like you can speak up a lot more, or you become a heck of a lot clearer in the way that you want to move, or the way that maybe it's literally moving again, because this last one's in your fourth house. These two are not conjunct again until January of 2028. So whatever cycle that they have just come through together is a major deal. It's a big thing. And I really love this for you, Capricorn, because this is happening in one of your very pivotal houses. The first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses are pivot points. They are very active. They are the most important in our astrological wheel, because this is where things shift and change. So there is something that I think really is quite potent coming through here, asking for your attention. The next thing I want to come to here is the Aries new moon that we have. And I'm not going to be speaking too much about moons during this Q2 forecast, but I wanted to bring this one up because, as you can see, it is conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer. So there has been something over the last few years that has been getting called up for you to look at, around kind of core wounds, maybe beliefs that you've had about yourself or been told about yourself that you've been living your whole life up to this point. And Chiron in your fourth has been asking you to really look at them in a deeper way, or perhaps they presented themselves as kind of remembering a trauma or remembering something that has happened when it comes to how you feel at home, who you are within a home. Perhaps you've never, been able to feel safe within a home. And Chiron here has brought that all up over the last few years. And in these last degrees, it is finishing something up here for you. It's going to ingress into Taurus and then retrograde back into Aries over this next year, but then it's going to be moving forward. So this is a bit of a completion time. With a new moon happening here, with all of this heat going on and all of these conjunctions and major changes and instigations happening, this new moon, I think, is incredibly potent. Again, especially for you, someone who has one of this all happening within a pivot point, within a really important house. So this is a time to set, I think, manifestation, goals, dreams in place as to how you are starting maybe a new cycle within your home. a new beginning, and you may not even know what it is. And you probably don't even have to do any work toward any of this because it's all getting planted without you even realizing. But this is a seed planting point. And as we move forward, we're going to be seeing your fourth house really moving forward and budding, growing, all of those kinds of things when it comes especially to this Chiron and what you feel your voice is doing differently here, how it is that perhaps you're speaking up for yourself in a different way. If we move forward a couple more days, we get the sun coming into Taurus. So that is Taurus season. This is happening on April 19th. Happy birthday to all of my Tauruses out there. April 25th, we see the sun squaring Pluto. So the sun is here in your fifth house of joy, creativity. This can also pertain to children, if that's applicable to you. This is also the romance house, very pleasure house. Uranus has been coming through here for the last 7 years, really changing the way that either you find joy for yourself, the way that you create, what it is that you're creating. And Pluto has been back here in Aquarius, moving very slowly into your second house over the last year or more. And this is all to do with your finances, your resources, your possessions that you have around you, as well as your self-worth. When this square happens, it's actually happening quite a few times. So Venus is going to be activating this square at 5 degrees. Mercury will do it, Mars will do it, and the sun is hitting this as well. When it's the sun and Pluto, this can really signify challenges with powerful people, powerful situations. Pluto very much is transforming your second house very slowly again, because it takes about 18 years and it's the farthest planet. So it moves very slow, but its work is deep. It's intense. It's powerful. It's asking us to come into a new sense of power wherever it is that it's working on. And again, for you, it is your second house. This is also asking you to step into a form of uniqueness. Like, what is unique to you when it comes to power within your second house? And this square from the sun, so solar figures, powerful figures, could feel like you are being asked to shift, transform. There could be, within the time that the sun is here, could feel like activations within any kind of powerful dynamic, asking you to either step forward in a whole new way, in a more powerful way, or if you've been sitting there with a lot of like tension and ego, because this is a square is challenging, then maybe taking your power and doing the situation differently. So here are some dates of when Venus, Mercury, and Mars are also going to be completing this square, activating this power, this question, this situation that could be arising from where it is that you make money, how it is that you make money, how it is that you see yourself and your self-worth, talking to the way you create. So we have Venus coming through April 3rd. Mercury completes this square May 5th, and Mars comes through here May 25th. So keep an eye out for this square. We're gonna feel it. At the same time though, like the sun moves a degree a day. Venus moves even quicker than that. Mercury moves even quicker than that. So this is going to come through and instigate something. It's not probably for like a major long term, but this is going to be something that we want to keep an eye on for our own evolution if you're into that kind of stuff. The same day, later on in the day, we have Uranus moving into Gemini for good. Huzzah, huzzah. This is happening at 5:52 p.m. Pacific time. It was last in Gemini. So remember we had that little window of time where Uranus was here. It was last here July 7th to November 7th, 2025. Within that window, with Uranus coming into your 6th house. Now, this is your daily rituals, your daily grind, and when I say daily grind, kind of the sacrificial work that one does to pay the bills, to take care of your body, to get the kids to school every morning, if that's applicable to you, those kinds of things, and how we move with you, with Gemini. This is a fast moving house for you. Like your work ethic, and as we know, most Capricorn risings, your work ethic is on another level. Your 6th house has a lot to do with that. Now, your 6th house is ruled by Mercury. It's down here in this heat. So please watch out for any inflammation or burnout or any of those kinds of things. And now that Uranus has moved in, it's moved in holding hands with Venus, which I find very soothing and very sweet. But it is going to kind of ask you to look back at what was happening for you between July and November of last year. Was there any new habits or rituals that you put in place, but then you put back down again? You're going to feel those coming back up. Or perhaps new ways that you are ready to take care of your body, new ways that you want to, if you're an employer, this is also your employees. Maybe you're going to suddenly turn your business on its head and you have 20 employees. Maybe you have a full-fledged roster of people. All of a sudden you're going to decide nope, I'm not going to do anything anymore. I'm just going to work on my own. 6th house can also be pets. So this could be you getting surprisingly, out of nowhere, more pets, or situations arising within your pets' lives. Uranus is the great awakener, the great shifter, changer, brings major pivots out of nowhere. I find a lot of the time the people who are aware and want to work and not so afraid of change are able to feel when Uranus is changing something and kind of let go and let be. That's very much what you need to do when Uranus does something or is conjunct something or any of those moments, which we're going to talk about in a couple months here. Not in a couple months in this video, but in a couple months. Uranus here is going to be shifting and changing. The best way to work with it is to allow change to come in. Try not to fight it. At the end of 7 years, I kid you not, every time we will look back with where Uranus has been within a sign and go, wow, I never thought I would be here. But it was, and we changed, and Uranus is all part of it. I personally really love Uranus for that kind of stuff. So there you go, you guys. That is April. And I'm going to pass this over to Michelle to look at the tarot.
So Capricorn, that's a lot happening in the month of April. So let's kind of narrow this down and see what you need to focus on this month. So I'm picking up some shifting and some changing. Knight of Cups here, but that you notice in this Knight of Cups that he's moving in the direction of an Ace of Cups. And so there's something here that you're meant to pursue in the month of April. Hermit, so you may need time to reflect and really kind of hone in on exactly what it is that you want to accomplish. 5 of Cups, it requires a shift in perspective. And so it's a different dynamic. It's looking at things differently. So if you have been going through transformation and healing and all of that, the 5 of Cups here says you're no longer acting from a place like a wounded place. You're acting from a place of balance. So there's something shifting and changing within you that is sparking some sort of desire to move in a different direction. Could again, even be a physical move here. King of Wands, and so that's your energy, where you're taking action, you're focusing on your own drive, your own momentum here. There's some sort of action that you're taking. 8 of Cups. So with the 5 of Cups, the 8 of Cups, this is what I'm picking up on because I'm getting movement from you. And so this again could be a physical move, but this feels like you're leaving something behind, something that you're emotionally disconnecting from. It feels like it's the 3 of Cups that are spilled over in that 5 of Cups card. And so if part of this is leaving behind pieces of the past, a wound, this again, I'm picking up a physical move for some of you. And so if that is connected to a wound, this is you know what? I'm ready to leave that chapter behind, everything connected to that chapter behind. I'm ready to focus on exploring my own needs, my emotional needs, going down this path of what I want here. Because that's the kind of energy that I'm getting. I'm getting almost like an emperor out of you. So what are the obstacles and challenges for you in the month of April? It feels like you're in the middle of releasing something and it's been a long time coming here. I say that because of the Wheel of Fortune. So this is divine timing, but this is also the wheel saying now's the right time to make some sort of adjustment in your life. Five of Swords. So the Five of Swords is conflict, competition, but it's change. And then I get the Ten of Swords showing up here with it, a painful ending. Nine of Swords, stress, fear, anxiety. And I get the Three of Wands, a card of patience. So this is something that you've been working on for a period of time. So I'm picking up a lot of letting go, releasing energy. And so that is sparking something new within you. This actually feels like you're going through a period of major transformation where you're letting go of something here from the past that has caused a lot of conflict, internal conflict, a lot of wounded energy, sleepless nights, headaches, any way that your body manifests anxiety, stress, fear. And so it feels like this is like a welcome relief. These don't feel like obstacles. This feels like a welcome change that you're looking for, because what it's doing is it's opening you up to explore something better for yourself, giving you that kind of inspiration and motivation to go after something that you want. But with the Hermit showing up here in what you need to focus on, there is kind of a period of stabilizing, healing, so that you can kind of gain that insight and clarity on what you want. So let's get the advice here for you. Nine of Cups. So focusing on what you really want. It's emotional fulfillment, moving in that direction. Six of Swords, moving on from the past, focusing on calm, stable, grounded energy as you're moving forward. Hanged Man. Any kind of pause or delay here is giving you a chance to look at the big picture. This feels very heavily connected to that Hermit, where you're looking at everything, kind of stabilizing, focusing on what you really want so that you can take the appropriate action. Page of Wands, and then there's the action showing up. No hesitation here. The page can be impulsive, but I feel like connected to the Hanged Man, it's not really that impulsive. You're giving yourself whatever time that you need in order to make sure that you're taking the right next steps for you. And then I get the Knight of Wands here with it. And so a lot of action, but it's action after a period of healing, release, reflection, all of that. So Capricorn, that is your reading for the month of April. And I'm going to send you back over to Kitt to talk about May.
Okay, Capricorn, let's have a look at May 2026. This is a month of squares and cazimis. So squares being of Mars, they are a challenge. And a cazimi moment is when a planet comes into the heart of the sun. And when Mercury does this, it causes your mind to have a clarity like no other. And probably before that point, it has felt very foggy. The sun is also going to be coming into conjunction with a couple other planets here, other cazimis, and we're going to be having some pretty brilliant aha moments through that as well. So let's start here. May 4th, may the 4th be with you. Mars squares Jupiter. So we have Mars still in Aries in your 4th house of home, ancestry, your parents, and it has come into a square with Jupiter, which is now direct in your 7th house of Cancer. Jupiter is the planet of wisdom and the expander. It wants to expand everything it touches, any sign that it's in, the house that it's in. And that's why we generally see Jupiter as a benefic planet, because really amazing things can come into fruition with Jupiter. Jupiter also will expand anything that it comes into contact with. So if it's in contact with a malefic planet, it will also expand that energy. A square usually is very difficult, but here, whenever we have an aspect with Jupiter, it sweetens the deal a little bit, especially when the planet is in its favorite place. And so Mars here squaring Jupiter, this could be a real time of success and action, drive. Mars's energy of being the instigator and wanting to start something, then squaring the great expander between the house of home and your seventh house, which is partnerships, relationships. Now, this could also be business partnerships. This could be really committed friendships. All of these pieces are going to be feeling like you are having an instigation forward and it being expanded by Jupiter. This, even though it is a challenging aspect, it being a square. When it is Mars and Jupiter speaking, this really could be quite a beautiful moment of action and change. The only place where this could go a little awry is if, with that Mars energy and Mars being in Aries, that this could be an action from maybe like an egoic state, or maybe an action from that just like wants to happen and the bits and pieces aren't put in place within it. If you are taking action from that kind of rash action place, there's a good chance that you're going to have to come back and look at this again. So just make sure with this square that you use all of that beautiful, successful expansion and wisdom energy here, but also knowing that, like, you know, the details need to be put in place. Moving forward to May 14th, we come to our first cazimi, which is very exciting. That is Mercury and the Sun meeting again. I feel like we've talked about this so much already this year because we've already had two, I think. We've had a superior and an inferior one. Mercury cazimis is it's when Mercury travels into the heart of the sun to then become renewed. That is kind of what the myth states around this. So as Mercury is approaching the sun by about 15 degrees, we may feel as though, and this being your fifth house, Taurus, you may feel as though you suddenly don't feel like you're able to speak to something that you want to work on, or that your creativity doesn't feel like it's able to like take fruition as easily as it usually does. And this is kind of a time of noticing our internal world and how it is that we are being called to shift and change as then Mercury comes into the heart of the sun. And this is a moment of intense clarity. This is a moment where you may find that everyone else is speaking to you and you have communication coming in like nobody's business. Or you yourself, again, if you are a journaler, this may be a moment as you're journaling that you just feel a clarity and a download when it comes to how you find joy, what it is you're creating and how you create it. Perhaps this is you like speaking in a whole new way in those interactions that feel very pleasurable, or a really gorgeous new clarity around children and how it is that they are within your life and how you're speaking to one another. Mercury cazimis happen quite often. They are part of the synodic cycle with Mercury going retrograde. So we're going to be seeing these again, but in your fifth house, this is a really beautiful moment, especially because Uranus has been right here as well, just lately. So it's catching the energy of Uranus as well. Moving ahead to May 17th, we see Mercury entering Gemini. Now, normally I don't really talk about when Mercury enters a new sign, but this one's especially important because Mercury rules Gemini. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. And it's been a long time with the fact that Virgo is way over here that Mercury has been in a place that it actually rules. So this is really lovely for Mercury. Mercury can do its best thinking here. This is your sixth house, again, of those daily rituals, the work that you're doing. You may find with Mercury here that you are just able to get so many things done, that your brain is really on fire. Things are shifting, moving, coming into play. Make sure that you aren't shifting and changing so much that caring for yourself kind of goes out the window. That's a big thing with the sixth house that we can do. And also, at the same time, the moment that Mercury enters Gemini, we are having it conjunct Uranus. Uranus also really works well in Gemini. In traditional astrology, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto do not rule any sign, but if there was a sign that Uranus loves the most, I would say that it's probably Gemini. The big thinker, the shifter, the changer, rebellion, the liberation, seeing things from every point of view of Gemini. So when Mercury, the ruler, and Uranus, who really gets along well in Gemini, this is going to be, again, even on a higher level, a moment where great thinking could come into play. The way that you want to work could change. The way that you approach your body could change. And this is just on the back of that Mercury going through a cazimi in your fifth. So this is really amazing, cognitive, intellectual thinking time for you. I'm excited about that. May 20th, we enter into Gemini season. So happy birthday to all my Geminis. May 22nd, then we see a Uranus cazimi, because the moment the sun comes into Gemini, even at 0 degrees, it's basically conjunct Uranus. And with the sun moving at 1 degree basically every day, it's right on top right away. So this cazimi moment, when the sun and Uranus come together and they meet, this is all of those themes and archetypes of Uranus. Again, that kind of liberation, breaking free, swift change and pivots that kind of come out of nowhere. These could be situations outside of you, or perhaps you're the one creating the shifts and changes. With the sun being here, this could be kind of doubly that effect. The sun illuminating and creating, making things a lot bigger, bringing a fire to this energy here in your 6th house. So even more ideas, probably even more shifts of oh, I want to go do this now. Again, with the fact that all of this energy is here in Capricorn, you are just so good at keeping your nose to the grindstone. Please also put some of this energy into brilliant ways for you to take a day off. Also slow down, those kinds of things. Let's take measured steps forward instead of just totally going whole hog with this, because I could see in a few weeks after this, perhaps in June, you feeling a little burnt out from all of the amazing ideas coming through. Always write them down and we can come back to them later. It's a beautiful thing. The Uranus cazimi happens exactly May 22nd at 7:24 p.m. Pacific time at 1 degree, 30 minutes. So if you have any personal planets or points around this degree, it'll really bring that theme into play as well. The last 2 things I want to talk about here is that we are going to be experiencing, as planets move through the wheel here from Aries, we're going to start seeing squares to Neptune and from Neptune. And also then, as whatever planet moves forward through your 7th house of partnerships and relationships, then Saturn is also going to create a square to that planet. So this is one of those moments where we've just watched Venus, Mercury, Mars, and the Sun come into conjunction with Saturn and Neptune in your 4th house. So something was started here. A conjunction can really begin a new cycle when it comes into a conversation between Neptune's dreaminess, etherealness, perhaps a spirituality and being in Aries, a drive for spirituality, and then squaring. Now it's, instead of being conjunct, they've moved to that first point of having a challenge from that first conjunction that we had. With Venus coming here, I would say that there could be some way that in your 4th house, perhaps with Neptune, perhaps you've been seeing things a little too rosy, or perhaps you have a situation with a loved one that really now needs action or needs more softness brought into it. There's something, a conversation that Neptune is now saying or having with each of these planets as they move through and come to this square, this activation point within your relationship house. This is a progress forward from that new cycle that they started here in your fourth. So first we have Venus come through May 21st. So this could be speaking to your relationships, and it's in your relationship house. So this could maybe speak to your needs. This could speak to how it is that you want to maybe bring more intuition and spirituality into your relationships. And then Mercury is going to be coming forward to that third degree or so. Actually, Mercury is going to be squaring at 4 degrees. Mercury does the square June 3rd. So now it is Neptune being in your fourth, whatever it's starting to work on here, now speaking to the way you want to communicate in your 7th house. Then when the sun comes through June 25th, that's going to be speaking to your core vitality and your core self, your purpose. And within relationships, speaking to the way maybe you show up or how it is that you want to bring a softer approach into the way that you approach relationships, or who is allowed to come forward with you. These planets are also, as I said, meeting Saturn quite shortly after. So Venus, after it meets Neptune on May 21st, it'll meet Saturn square May 28th, 8 p.m. at 11 degrees. So this, going through this dreamy state, Neptune and Venus coming together can sometimes really give us some rose-colored glasses when it comes to creativity or a relationship. Right away, like just a few degrees after, it's meeting Saturn, which is creating, with a square, a challenge around how it's restricting you. Perhaps it's asking you, now that you've had this beautiful moment, how are you putting it into action for the long term? Which sometimes it's really lovely for us in any relationship, friendship, whatever it is, to have it's the easy conversation of like, oh, let's dream up all of the wonderful things we can do. But now you're getting asked to put it into practice. And then when Mercury comes through here, it has its dreamy moment with Neptune in your 4th house. But then on June 9th, so it meets Neptune June 3rd, and then it meets Saturn June 9th at about 13 degrees of Cancer. And that's now asking like, okay, now how am I actually going to speak this into fruition? How am I actually going to put these things forward? And like, what sacrifice am I willing to take to make sure that whatever Saturn is talking about in your 4th right now, about like either where are you living for the long term? How do you approach your inner world? And how are you taking responsibility for it? Then squaring your voice in relationships. How are you communicating that? Are you standing up again for the needs that you have for your inner realms or your physical home? So this is a lot of instigation and like that first step within a new cycle as all of these planets pass by Neptune and Saturn earlier on. Mars is obviously going to come to this point. Yeah. So this is a very interesting time at the end of May. I really love for you, especially again, because we've got that 4th house, we've got that 7th house. These are pivot points. These are big beginnings. These are big action points and opportunities. Squares, they may be challenging, but they are always an opportunity for growth, to see who wants to actually step into these harder conversations, these big moves, solidifying things with you for the long term. This is important stuff. So make sure that you write down these dates that I had mentioned about the squares from Neptune and the squares with Saturn, because I think they're going to start creating a bit of a ripple effect for what it is that you're creating in this year, next year, and moving forward from there. So I'm going to pass you over to Michelle for the May Tarot.
So Capricorn, let's see what you need to focus on in the month of May. So right away, Two of Wands. This is about making a decision, but it's based on some sort of potential that you can see. So it's a long-term goal, a long-term plan. Six of Cups, a card of nostalgia, but it's also about emotional balance. And so it's building from this place of, I feel good, I feel grounded where I am. And then I get the Star, Aquarius energy showing up. So this is focused on the future. And it feels like the way that you're going about things is you're kind of sitting here in this place of emotional stability, focusing on what you want to grow with that Two of Wands. Three of Cups, and then you start working towards it. So I get the Three of Cups, not Three of Wands, and I get the Three of Pentacles. So the two threes showing up here really speak to building, but maybe building with other people. And so Three of Pentacles, teamwork, collaboration. Three of Cups, friends, family, the people that you enjoy being around. These don't necessarily have to be different people. They can represent the same people, but there's something here where you see some sort of opportunity and then you move in that direction. This is, I'm putting some sort of plan into action, building here. So what are the obstacles and challenges for you in the month of May? High Priestess. So the High Priestess is emotional balance, but it's also a quiet energy. Two of Swords is a card of indecision. Six of Swords, moving away from something in the past. So movement, but away from something in order to pursue something more grounded, calm, stable. Magician, so manifesting what you want. And the Seven of Pentacles. The only thing that really feels like it's kind of a challenge is the indecision, because everything else feels like it's work that you're already doing. And so the High Priestess is really connected to the Six of Cups. This could indicate here that if you are keeping things to yourself, that might make it a little bit more difficult to build, but I don't get the sense that it's going to be for very long, that you're trusting yourself, you're trusting the process here. And then with the movement, because we got the Six of Swords showing up in the month of April. And so there's something about moving away from the past, focusing on the future, focusing on growth, stepping into that mindset here. So what is it that you want to grow and expand? Because the Magician and the Seven of Pentacles is about you investing in something here long-term. It's this Two of Wands and it's the Star here. What kind of long-term investment do you want to make in your future? And then how is another person involved in this entire kind of game plan that you have, this strategy that you have for yourself? I'm not really seeing any real obstacles and challenges. The indecision, if you have it, it feels very fleeting, very temporary. So let's get the advice here for you in the month of May. So the Four of Wands, it's a marriage card. It's a reason to celebrate. It's stability. And then I get the Moon here. So it's all about your emotions and what you truly want. This is also your intuition. So it's about listening to yourself, that internal guidance. Go with the flow, kind of leaning into whatever is happening, wherever you want to go. Two of Pentacles, balancing priorities. So it's letting go of whatever doesn't work for you anymore and just prioritizing what does. So really speaking to that Six of Swords that shows up here in your obstacles and challenges. And then I get the King of Cups showing up here. So King of Cups is you acting from this emotionally mature, emotionally grounded place, which I was getting in your current kind of what you need to focus on energy. So I don't feel like that's going to be a challenge. And then I get the Hanged Man here. And so the Hanged Man is any kind of pause or delay so that you're looking at the big picture. And so from an advice standpoint, if you are kind of encountering some of this indecision, it's really about the King of Cups and the Hanged Man. It's give yourself that moment of pause, get back into your emotionally grounded, balanced state, then take a look at everything around you. Take a look at your surroundings. What's going to be in your best interest here? What exactly do you want to pursue? What do you need to release? Trusting yourself along the way. And Four of Wands, because it is a marriage card, so it could be building with another person again. So Capricorn, that is your reading for the month of May, and I'm going to send you back over to Kitt to talk about June.
Okay, Capricorn, we're on the last month of our Q2 reading here. We're in June 2026. I've been likening this month to everyone as a kind of like when you open up the dryer after it's been on for a long time, maybe you use dryer sheets or what have you, but you open it up and you can kind of smell that fresh, warm laundry smell. And it's so delightful. And then partway through the month, we go to put our hand into the dryer to grab the wonderful smelling laundry and we get a massive static shock. So that's kind of how this June is going to roll out. And what I mean by this is June 9th. We start with a very quick conjunction, but one that we have been looking forward to for a long time, especially for you guys, Capricorn. We have Venus and Jupiter meeting together in your 7th house, Cancer, at 25 degrees, 46 minutes. Jupiter is just out of its retrograde shadow at this point, so it is doing big, fresh, new work. Venus coming forward here. This is like expansion of relationships in your relationship house. This is a very auspicious day. And when I say auspicious, some people don't know what that means. Beautiful, romantic, poetic, feeling like your heart can expand. This is such a beautiful day, Capricorn, and definitely with you guys having this in your 7th. Even if you don't have a spouse or a partner at the time, this is a time to bring out with Venus. This could also be major creativity, major connection with friends or finding new friends, especially if they are femmes. You're going to find a lot of just really juicy, beautiful energy today. This is a beautiful day if you are starting something. Maybe this is a good day for a first date or something like that. Very, very lovely moment to start out with June. A couple days later on June 12th, I just wanted to point out something I wouldn't normally point out quite this early on in time, but we are gearing up for, in your 7th house, a Mercury retrograde. And it's going to be retrograding over basically the same points that Jupiter did its retrograde from last November until the beginning of March. So there's something very interesting coming up here in the way that perhaps you have learned on an internal level, you have expanded your wisdom when it comes to who you want to be in relationship and really had your eyes opened from last November to the beginning of March around who you are, how you are reflected within business partnerships as well. And again, those committed, very, very long-term beautiful friendships that one can have. Mercury is now going to be coming through here doing a retrograde and asking you to revisit, revise, rethink the way that you speak or perhaps move within relationships on a much more kind of day-to-day level. Mercury on June 12th at 16 degrees, 23 minutes, it is separated just from that square with Saturn. So it's just had a little conversation with that Saturn in your home place, in your 4th house, around something and how you want to create something stable for the long term, how you want to start something new, but perhaps you need to put in the work beforehand when it comes to home and relationship. And Mercury now enters the area where it is going to be retrograding back to. So it hasn't started its retrograde yet, but this is where Mercury will start probably bringing forward themes that you are going to be asked to revisit and revise during the retrograde. So make note of June 12th. This is a beginning moment just with you guys again, because this is your 7th house and because you've just had that beautiful conjunction and we're having all these squares to your 7th. A lot's happening here in your partnerships and relationships. Even if you're single, this could be you understanding on a deeper level, like who you want in your life next, or perhaps you don't want anyone in your life next. Those kinds of things. This does not get ruled out if you are single or if you are someone going through a situation that is not spouse boyfriend like. This is a big moment for all forms of relationship or the way that you are in relationship. Moving forward to June 21st, we have Cancer season beginning. So the sun moves into your 7th house, and happy birthday to all of my Cancers out there. June 29th, we move forward. And this is the day that our Mercury retrograde officially begins. So Mercury turns retrograde at 26 degrees, 15 minutes. So just a couple degrees later than Jupiter did. Again, have a look back in your journal to assess like what have you changed and shift within relationship when it came to Jupiter's retrograde, that inner expansion, inner wisdom coming through, maybe a change of philosophy or situations coming up that made you really have to think about things differently. Mercury's now doing this in a much quicker, more mundane way, but it's going to allow you to speak differently in relationships or understand cognitively and have clarity around who it is that you are with and who you are in relationship. With anything happening in your 7th house, I want to make mention here, wherever your ascendant is in your 1st house, or if you have any planets or points also in your 1st house, they are going to be getting opposed by these transits through your 7th. And that goes for anything happening in your 6th will be opposing any personal planets or points in your 12th, et cetera, et cetera. But this one is especially potent to bring up because in opposition to your ascendant, which will be somewhere in here if you are a Capricorn rising, that means that your identity is being activated as an opposition. So kind of trying to find balance between two subject matters, two things happening. It can also, when planets come through the 7th, really like hold up a mirror of like, well, how are you in relationship though? Like, how are you acting in this situation? Those kinds of things. It also can signify us watching our partners or our very committed relationship of any kind going through something. And then we are the ones having to support or like go through it with them. So I just wanted to mention that for you Capricorns, that all of this stuff happening, even the Venus conjunction, could very much feel very personal and not just part of your relationships. This is what I was saying before, is that even if you're single, this lights you up because it is helping you grow. It is creating this opportunity to look at you as your identity as well and who you are. And then June 30th, we have the big day where Jupiter, who's just had a year, last summer of 2025 to this summer in your 7th house, it's now moving into your 8th. It's going to spend a year here in Leo. This is going to be lighting up your shared resources, shared finances, intimacy on a very deep level, sometimes karmic relationships and ties. This is very much all kind of forms of those kind of vulnerable subjects. Like when we talk about debts, finances, loans, and mortgages, they aren't the funnest. I was about to say funnest. They aren't the most fun things to speak about because we feel vulnerable in those situations. Or in our absolute most intimate relationships with people, it takes a lot of self-trust and trust in others to be able to go that deep. That is everything 8th house. 8th house is also in traditional astrology said to be kind of it's a hidden place. So it could be, where things go to die or to restrict down. So not something to be afraid of here because we have become much more aware of many different nuances for the 8th house. But this is where Jupiter is going to start coming in and asking you to expand in your ability to delve into that kind of most transformative subjects. I'm really excited to see what Jupiter in the 8th is going to be like for you guys, especially because we also have the South Node moving in August. So we have Jupiter, the great expander, a very benefic, beautiful, auspicious planet coming in to expand your wisdom and your philosophy and magnetize situations perhaps or opportunities to you within your 8th. And it's also going to be partnered with the South Node, which asks you to let go of what no longer serves you. So this is going to be a very beautiful house that you're going to want to look at a lot as we move forward into 2027. Very highlighted for you and a major place of, I think, personal awakening for a lot of Capricorn risings. So watch for this Jupiter moving in. It's going to have quite a few weeks of being able to like be here by itself, and like perhaps you gain a whole bunch of money from someone, or you got married and, you know, a bunch of assets come in. These kinds of things can happen when Jupiter comes into your 8th. But then, yeah, it's going to be bringing up, I think, themes straight away of what that South Node wants to speak about as well. Last couple things here. Let's get to the static shock moment. We're going to back up 2 days to June 28th when Mars enters Gemini, your 6th house. So all of that heat of your 4th that we talked about in April has now dispersed. Everyone's moved forward and doing their own thing, and they're squaring and sextiling and all back here to your 4th. But now Mars, the ruler of your 4th house and your exalted ruler, is moving into your 6th. So this is going to bring quite a bit of action and drive. Mars will be here almost 2 months-ish. It's going to be asking, it's probably going to feel like you are like Wonder Man or Wonder Woman. Wonder Man? That's not the right word. Superman or Woman. Oh, it's so
or
good.
He-Man, yeah.
Yeah. You're going to feel like you can take on everything, and it's probably also going to bring up everything for you to take care of. This is where, you remember me saying in the last 2 months, like, have you got your self-care package figured out? Have you been learning how to take days off? Because Mars entering here, you bet your booty that this is going to be burning some things up, bringing in the heat, that Gemini air sign. So all of the mind, all of that thinking and quick moving energy that Gemini loves is going to be set on fire with Mars here. So please, again, make sure that you are taking care of your body and taking time for yourself. It might feel really hard now with Mars here, but you got to do it. And right from the beginning, Mars and Uranus are giving us quite a static shock moment. So Mars enters Gemini June 28th at 12:29 p.m. and it's at 0 degrees. But it is right away basically conjunct Uranus by 3 degrees, and it is moving instantly into this conjunction. The exact conjunction is actually in July. It's July 3rd at 3 degrees, 52 minutes. So see if you have any planets or points here. That's going to very much bring in those themes as well. When Mars and Uranus meet, as you can imagine, I've been saying how Uranus is this like rebellion and liberation and breaking free of things, except for sometimes you're not quite on board with that breaking free, or you don't really see it coming, but it's going to do it for you. Mars is the god of war. It is like breaking free as well. Mars is the severer. Mars can come through situations sometimes and just like cut it free without you really wanting it to. Again, later on, we realize that, it's probably really good that happened. But when they come together, this is an explosive moment. And literally through history in mundane astrology, so the astrology like for the entire world, it has represented moments where there have been literal explosions. Now, let's not do that in your personal life, and let's not do that in your 6th house as well with your poor body and your health. This moment is going to feel very fated, probably. You're going to feel impulsive, probably that rebellious streak coming through, very assertive. Watch yourself at this time. If you are doing like daily tasks around June 28th, please take care. Driving, take care when you're cooking, these kinds of things, because this is a time where we can slip because we're moving so fast and we cut ourselves or we hit our head on something. Those kinds of energies can really come through here where, you know, they are working together and they're doing something, but if we're not cognitive of or taking responsibility for also, you know, mellowing them in a little bit, you can end up doing something really impulsive that you may regret later. So just watch yourself on this like major static shock day. While we're here at 3 degrees, we've just got a couple things that I want to mention, but in your 6th house here, just because we're speaking about your health, like this is where we can get colds. This is where we can have a lot of inflammation. With Mars in your 6th, you may find that there are parts of your body that feel inflamed. Perhaps situations with pets could feel a bit inflamed, especially now Uranus is here as well. At around the 2-3 degree mark, we are seeing what's called planets that are at the bending or at the bend. And that means that they square the north node and the south node. And this is an activation point that is very tied to the eclipse season that we have been experiencing. So south node in Virgo, north node in Pisces. Think back all the way back to like January of 2025. That's when the nodes moved into Pisces and Virgo. And we started this whole work on leaning into self-trust and leaning into our intuition and letting go of parts of our routines that may have felt like we had to be perfect, that we had to, or that we may like berate ourselves quite a bit. Like and don't get me wrong, there are beautiful when it comes to the North Node being in Virgo, there are incredible things that we get to step into, and there are shadow aspects of Pisces as well. So don't feel like that I'm like beating up on the Virgos here. Each of these planets, as they come through, so we had Venus come through, we've had Mercury and the Sun come through this 3 degree area, now 2 degree because that's where the nodes are. We are seeing this, as I said, this activation point when it comes to what what Venus has to talk about, or what Mercury has to talk about within your 6th. And because this is happening in a house for you where we can not take care of our bodies as well as perhaps we should, or others, if we are an employer, that kind of thing, I want you to really watch on these dates. So Venus is April 28th, Mercury is May 19th, the Sun is May 25th, Uranus is June 20th, and Mars is July 2nd. It's a lot of activation of these nodes. So within what's been happening since last January 2025, if you have been keeping track of what these eclipses have felt like for you and what you've been asked to let go of and what has been now beginning within your 3rd house, when Mercury comes through, you may need to speak to it. When Venus comes through, you may need to reassess your values in relationship. When the Sun comes through, it could really affect the vitality of who you are. And when Mars comes through, believe you me, this is going to be an action point. And with Uranus being here, again, I really want you to make sure that if you're going to take action at this time, far be it for me to say like, don't do anything. And I also just don't think that you can't not do something here because it's so activated. This is so crunchy. But I really just want you to watch what you're doing. Try to very much take care of yourself, take care of your body, and move as slow as you possibly can through your daily rituals, the things that you have to do around you, that kind of stuff, because these are the moments where we suddenly like have an incident or a relationship kind of can get really explosive, or something just can get a little out of hand that we have to go back and take care of later. And this could be very much tied to your income and how you create resource, because you're also being trined by Pluto in your 2nd. So that transformation that's going on there. We have a hell of an exit, you guys, and we're going to talk about one more moon and we're done here. And the moon, the full moon in Capricorn, it's all about you here, peeps. June 29th at 4:55 p.m., we have the Capricorn full moon. So the reason I want to talk about and end on this full moon is A, it's all about you. A big, huge culmination moment when it comes to you and your identity. It's also very much speaking to what it is that you've been working on over here in your 7th house. This is about self and other in a major way. The moon is in its detriment when it's in Capricorn. It wants to be over here in relationship. So even more so, this opposition between where it wants to be and where it is could feel like quite a moment of that mirror being held up, or watching a partner going through something significant. Mercury has entered its retrograde at this time, so conversations could be more difficult than usual. And at the same time, Mars is over here doing this like closing conjunction coming up to Uranus, this explosive point at the point of the nodes here. So something very fated new beginning, fated endings being activated. And also Jupiter is still quite conjunct the Mercury retrograde in the 7th where the sun is. You can see probably why I wanted to bring this up. So the end of June. As you can see, we're like hockey stick ramping up to something that is really shifting and changing between you and other. And perhaps it's only you that's shifting and changing and like understanding and realizing like what you want in relationship or how you want to express yourself, or it's your partner that's being expanded at this time. But your exalted ruler here, Mars, going through this pivotal big moment within your 6th house, like in your needs and how you take care of yourself, and in an air sign. So really up in the mind, up in the head. I really want you to watch in this full moon, watch the way you're speaking. If you're standing up for yourself, amazing. And if you have something to say, amazing. But just remember that your Mercury is retrograde in your 7th, and Mars is going through an explosive moment with Uranus at the bend. So just at this time, at the end of June, have that care package ready. If you're watching this at the beginning of, where did we start? April. You have time now to create a care self package and write notes to yourself, put up sticky notes around the place, put in calendar events on your phone, whatever you can do to remind yourself that these are merely transits. They are all here to activate us and push us into forms of ourself that we get to grow into. The oppositions and the squares, these are opportunities to be able to lean into something that probably on our own we wouldn't have instigated for ourselves, because who wants to do that? So at this time, just really take care of yourself, Capricorn. Lean into trusting yourself, listening to yourself, using every part of that moon that you can that is in your first sign. So like taking all the ideas of that Cancer, nourishment, the mother, the being able to like speak to your needs and really take that on for yourself. But just whatever it is that you need to like feel steadier, bring down any heat that's coming up, or if your mind is whizzing around, find all of those rituals and habits and have them at your fingertips, ready to go at the end of June when we ramp up. I cannot wait to talk to you about July when we have the Q3 that we put together. And now I'm going to pass you back to Michelle.
So Capricorn, let's focus on what you need to focus on in the month of June. So let's get some cards. This is a very clear, direct message. 9 of Cups, focusing on what you want, your goals, your dreams, the emotional fulfillment, the kind of life that you want to build, because I've got the Fool showing up here. So the Fool is showing up, clean slate, cleared karma. And here's why. I'm getting the Ace of Swords. You're in the process of letting something go here. 5 of Pentacles, there's the release, but with a lot of clarity. This actually feels like it's a conscious choice on your part to let go of something here so that you can begin something else. And with all of that, strength is coming through, that Leo energy, finding the strength and courage to let go of something old in order to embrace something new. So let's get the obstacles and challenges for you. So the obstacles and challenges really relate to what you need to release. I'm getting the Ace of Cups. So this feels like Nine of Cups, Ace of Cups, full card. This is what you want here. So that's not an obstacle. Then I get the Eight of Wands. It's about the forward movement. The moon here. So the moon is something hidden beneath the surface. So connected to your emotions, but it's also what you need to let go of. So if you've been kind of hesitating to let go of something, really what you're trying to do here is make space to go after what you want. Kind of free yourself of that old energy. It's taking up too much of your energy, too much of your bandwidth. The Empress. And so the Empress here, it's about harmony, balance, alignment, focusing on what you love and value. And I get the Seven of Swords here. So lies, manipulation, and deceit. This feels like it's connected to the moon where it's something hidden underneath the surface, not visible. And so it feels like clarity is coming with the Ace of Swords. You're going to recognize that this is something that doesn't belong. And you recognize that only because you're trying to pursue something else and you feel like you're being held back in some way. It's the Strength card coming through pretty loud and clear here. And so it's going to take a lot of strength and courage to let go of something. This actually feels like it's been around for a period of time, something old, like really old, kind of something you had always accepted as true when it wasn't. There was something about hidden beneath the surface, believing things were a certain way, and then learning later that it was different, that your perception now is different of the entire situation. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm seeing everything different now. Let me take a look at that situation again and reevaluate it through this new lens. And it feels like when you do that, you start to understand, no, this isn't working for me anymore. I don't want to hold on to it. It feels a lot like a belief system that you're releasing here during this time in order to go after something more emotionally rewarding and fulfilling. But even if it's not a belief system, what you're doing is you're making space. You're allowing for something new to develop here, or you want something new. So you're releasing the old. So let's get the advice here for you. Six of Cups. So the Six of Cups is a card of nostalgia. So when I said something really old, it's coming through. It's like childhood, that kind of old energy. So take the timeline as it resonates for you. This is also advice to get into an emotionally grounded and balanced place. Eight of Cups, so that you can walk away, so that you can see it with that Ace of Swords and then walk away from it with the Eight of Cups. Because here is how it's presenting itself, the Devil. And so that is your card coming through, but it's coming through as a restrictive energy. Whatever you previously thought, that belief system no longer applies. I keep going back to belief system because that's the message coming through. So take it as it resonates. But this actually feels like a necessary change in order to allow growth. So there's the Star. There's healing and focusing on your goals and dreams. What kind of life do you want to build? Five of Swords. And then it's resolving this internal conflict. It's kind of making peace with whatever you previously thought so that you can let it go and open yourself up to a new way of thinking and behaving and just pursuing goals here. So Capricorn, that is your reading for the month of June.
Thank you so much for watching your Q2 reading and being here with myself and Michelle. We loved making these for you, and we just want to say, again, this of course is a general reading. So make sure that you look at your natal chart to find out if you have any planets or points that have been getting affected by these transits that we've been talking about and reading tarot for. I want to give a great big shout out to Astro Theros. That is the program, the astrology program that you see me using when I do the readings here or over on my channel. It is such an incredible program and super affordable for everyone to be able to access. So I highly recommend going over to their website, which is in the description box below, and checking out that astrology app.
And so for more content like this, I recommend subscribing to both of us. We also recommend coming back at the end of the month and viewing the next month. So everything in here is time-stamped. And so at the end of April, coming back to watch May, at the end of May, coming back to watch June. And so again, subscribe, like the video, and join us for more content.